case number 25W7000388, the state of Michigan versus Bradley Peterson. Okay, counsel, your Mr. Herman Keller, your name for the record, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Yvonne Parabon Keller, P84328, appearing on behalf of Mr. Bradley Peterson, who is present today in the courtroom.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Peterson, for the record, please.
Agree, Thomas Peterson.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Bella, your appearance for the record, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Michaela Vella on behalf of the people, P87185.
All right. And so today is the date scheduled for a probable cause conference in this matter. And counsel?
Your Honor, I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Peterson in the breakout room, and this is something that the court may be aware of, and I am not. Mr. Peterson had recently come out of being incarcerated for the purposes of these proceedings. He got out on bond, and that was arranged. Mr. Peterson and I had discussed a number of things in the breakout room. We discussed going forward with strategy in this case, and Mr. Peterson had informed me that he had filed a motion with the court to remove the judge from this case. And regardless of whether that motion had been filed or not, or whether he intended for such a motion to be filed, I advised him that I was not comfortable with doing so and that I did not agree to do so for the purposes of this case. And as such, him and I discussed that this was going to be a stopping point in going forward with representation. And as such, we parted amicably, and at this time I would ask to be allowed to recuse myself from this case.
All right, guys, this one kicks off like a routine courtroom session, but it doesn't stay that way for long. We've got the state of Michigan versus Bradley Peterson, and at first glance, everything feels structured, controlled, and by the book. The judge calls the case, attorneys identify themselves, and the process begins exactly how you'd expect. But right under that calm surface, tension is already building. Peterson has just been released on bond, and behind the scenes, something has clearly gone wrong between him and his attorney. What should have been a standard legal progression is already heading toward conflict. You can feel it. The kind of tension where professionalism is barely holding things together, and one wrong move is about to flip the entire tone of the courtroom from calm procedure into something far more unpredictable.
So, counsel, you are asking to be removed from this case because Mr. Peterson filed a motion on his own and not with discussion with you, and you're not comfortable with that motion.
That is not the sole reason, Judge. Mr. Peterson insisted that the only way that he would be comfortable with me representing him in this case is if I continued and persisted with this motion. I do not agree with the motion that he is filing, and he said that he would prefer to go on his own if I would not go forward with this motion in his behalf. And we had a civil discussion about this, Judge. We did not have a fight or anything. I want to make that clear. Mr. Peterson and I have a good relationship, speaking-wise, so I'm not trying to cast aspersions on him at any point. I want the record to reflect that. But this is an impasse that we have reached, and that is the reason I have brought this to the court's attention.
Okay. All right. The court will note that there was a motion that was filed today asking for this court
For the videotape, hearing a bell and charges.
Okay, we don't have videotape. You can request a transcript, certainly. Yes, you can certainly request a transcript.
Yeah.
You don't need a motion for that. You can request a transcript without a motion, just so you know.
Okay, well, we did it over Zoom, so I just assumed that you'd have a videotape of it and not a transcript of the 7th, of January 7th, when we had a bail bond discussion and the charges of trespassing and assault city with Haven. We did it over Zoom.
I understand we did it over Zoom, but we don't, that was not recorded over Zoom. It was
just on
recorded on our transcript.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to file a motion for that, I guess, because I don't.
No, sir, what I'm saying is that you don't need a motion for transcripts.
Okay.
You can just request the transcripts.
Okay, yeah.
There's a fee that you have to pay, but it's not a motion.
Okay, yeah, if I can request that, Also, a request on the Michigan Court Rule 2.003, I believe is filed that on the 17th on Friday or something like that. So
Okay, hold on, just one moment. Okay, well, counsel, I will allow you to, I will grant your motion to terminate representation specifically as far as moving forward, but counsel, I would just, if you can just stay on these proceedings.
Oh, of course, I would sure, yeah, I have no problem.
Let me finish, please.
I'm sorry.
To advise Mr. Peterson appropriately if he's getting into some territory he shouldn't be getting into, okay?
Of course, Judge.
Thank you. So the motion you filed today, sir, is regarding the Zoom video that does not exist, but the transcripts you can certainly request, correct?
yes,
That's all of this one. Now, you filed something on January 17th, and you're requesting under 2.003 to dismiss, disqualify the judge as follows. Filed the motion in good faith. Fair bond conditions and restrictions to stop U.S. public protests at city of Winnebago public schools are biased favors given to plaintiff. Okay, well, sir, I can tell you that that's not, that's a condition this court put in because that's what's alleged as a violation. So to protect the complaining witnesses, that's what the court put in. Just as in any assault case, sir, I put a no contact provision in. And so that is why I did that, not because there's any bias at all.
well, if you keep
Not
reading,
at all.
if you keep reading, Your Honor, you'll see that the U.S. Federal Court, Judge Grant, Your Honor, because the city of Woodhaven tried to put a PPO on me, specifically told them, case dismissed, that he cannot violate my constitution.
Here's where things take a sharp turn. Instead of the usual chaos where a defendant fires their lawyer, this time the attorney is the one stepping back. And that says a lot. The lawyer makes it clear there's a serious disagreement in strategy. Peterson wants to push a motion that the attorneys simply cannot stand behind. And look, that's not a small issue. In the legal world, credibility is everything. You can't argue something you don't believe in and expect it to hold up. So now, instead of one unified defense, we've got a split right down the middle. One side grounded in actual law, the other drifting into risky territory. And just like that, the courtroom dynamic flips. This isn't just a case anymore. It's a clash of perspectives happening in real time.
No, and I think that's the issue.
Oh, hold on, please, just one moment. I understand that you think that that's the issue. I'm not trying to violate your constitutional rights. What I'm trying to do is that there is, right now, that there's a complaining witness. There are allegations, and so the court, as condition of bond, has put certain parameters and conditions of bond on. Just as, like I just stated, just as if there is an assaultive, somebody with assault and battery for domestic violence, they're not allowed to return to the home or wherever the victim lives. They're not allowed to return to the victim's place of employment. They're not allowed to contact the victim. Those are all conditions I put in. Somebody with disorderly conduct, I put certain provisions in there, whether they can use alcohol or not use alcohol, whether they have to use testing or not testing. It's not intended to violate any rights under the U.S. Constitution. The purpose is for protection of the complaining witnesses and protection of society if this court deems necessary.
That's if somebody violated a law. I haven't violated nothing.
Sir,
I'm with
the allegation is that you assault or resisted, obstructed a police officer causing injury and trespassed.
It's just an allegation.
You're correct. You're correct. But as a condition of bond, there are certain factors the court has to take into consideration when assessing bond, and the court has judicial discretion to assess bond conditions. That is what this court did. I didn't place you on house arrest, told you couldn't move anywhere. I didn't do any of that, sir. I simply put forth conditions relevant to the allegations therein. And sir, I'm very much aware that they're allegations only.
Yeah, you need to read the whole thing, other than just one. I got like 15 issues in there.
15 issues.
Yeah,
Okay,
you need to read the whole thing. Also, Your Honor, I publicly protested today in front of your court.
Okay.
But none of your police came out to arrest me because that's my constitutional right to do.
You're
I'm not ignorant of my constitutional rights. I'm not ignorant. A judge told me a long time ago, ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Right.
And so I studied a little bit. I don't know a lot, but I know my constitutional rights. I've done read your European Constitution over and over again.
All right, now the confusion starts stacking up. Peterson begins pushing arguments about recordings, transcripts, and motions, clearly trying to assert control over the process. But the judge calmly shuts it down with facts. There's no video, only transcripts, and those don't require a motion. Simple, straightforward. But instead of adjusting, Peterson doubles down. He starts referencing prior filings, court rules, and alleged bias, trying to build a narrative that the system is working against him. And this is where things start getting messy. Because while he's speaking with confidence, the foundation of what he's saying doesn't fully line up with how the system actually works. It becomes less about legal accuracy and more about perception. And that gap, that's where problems begin to grow fast.
If I followed your white laws, I follow them, and then you stomp on me when I follow your laws. You've been doing this for hundreds of years. You know, Martin Luther King marched, and you guys took dogs
Stop right now.
You're
I'm
right
not
about
100 years
rights.
old, so do not accuse me of stomping on anything.
Well-
Let's be very clear on that.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, don't seem like it.
I'm not 100 years old, sir. Were you interfered with at all while you were engaging in your protest?
My constitutional right? No.
No, you were
I
not.
did at the city of Woodhaven, though, and now you condemning me for it
No,
because
sir.
you restricted me.
Sir, let me be very clear.
I've committed no crime.
I am restricting, I put conditions on for the protection of the complaining witnesses, which is the authority that I've been given with my judicial discretion.
You also
No.
took an oath to uphold every citizen's constitutional right to public protest. But
Okay.
you're not doing that.
Sir, let me clarify. Let me clarify something. There is a balancing act that as judges we have to do. So we have, you're charged with a crime, right? It's an allegation. We have the protection of the victim and the community, all right? So there's a balancing act that this court has to do. And that is what this court is doing. I have not restricted all of your movement. I have not said you can't put signs up anywhere, you can't go on any public property. I have not done that, sir.
You did?
No. What I did was I addressed specifically the complaining witness and the victims in this matter. That is what I did, and that is what I have the authority to do that's been given to me by the U.S. Constitution as well. That's statutory authority. Whether you agree with that or not, sir. I understand you don't agree, but that's not a basis for this court to disqualify itself. Let's see what the next one is here. Okay, I don't know what bias favors are. I'm not biased, prejudiced, discriminating against you in any way, sir.
That's your opinion.
And sir, let me just be very clear. The court has not infringed on your First Amendment right of free speech. What it did is it put in protections for the victim in this matter.
I'm the victim.
Which this court has every authority to do.
I'm the victim, and you're not recognizing that. I just protested in front of your courthouse, and it was okay. You should have arrested me then. When I go to your
So
schools
I don't
and
have
your wind
arrest
out,
warrants.
when I go to schools and your wind out, you should arrest me, but
Sir,
you're not going to.
Now we step into the heart of the conflict. The judge lays it out clearly. These are allegations, not conclusions. Bond conditions exist to protect people, not punish prematurely. That's standard procedure. But Peterson isn't hearing it that way. He flips the narrative and positions himself as the victim, insisting his rights are being violated. And here's the thing, this is where a lot of defendants lose ground. Instead of addressing the charges directly, the focus shifts to arguing the system itself. The judge stays composed, explaining the legal balance between rights and public safety. But Peterson keeps pushing back, repeating claims, insisting he's done nothing wrong. And the more he talks, the clearer it becomes, this isn't just a legal defense anymore. It's turning into a personal battle against the entire framework.
Let me just clarify. I, as a judge, do not have the authority to arrest you myself.
Well, they don't either. They took an oath to uphold my civil rights, whether they like it or not.
Sir, did anybody arrest you here?
You weren't supposed to. It's my constitutional right to do. Just like in the city of Woodhaven. This is what I'm trying to get through to you. You're trying to say, no, no, no. There's allegations against you that you did this, this, and this. I'm trying to tell you I exercised my constitutional rights. And they violated me. I'm the victim.
And sir, that is everything that will come through discovery and whatnot. At this stage, this is considered pre-trial.
I know what this is.
So
I've been through your system before.
So
Also, Your Honor, I've asked, if you don't dismiss yourself, I'm asking for another judge to hold.
Just one moment,
Hear it.
just one moment, please. This court, sir, has to take the allegations and there's a process.
Like, I don't know it. I know your process. I've been down your roads before. But
I don't know
I'm
what roads
15.
of mine you've been down, sir.
I'm 15
But you've
to
been here,
defend-
excuse me, you've been here in this court a number of times,
Yes,
as
I have.
other matters have been disqualified.
Yes, I
And you
have.
have been treated with respect and fairness. And I believe you've even
That's
stated that
that's not
yourself.
all entirely true.
Hold on, sir, I believe you've even stated that yourself.
Yeah, but that's not all entirely true. You wasn't here to dismiss the posted signs, was you? You should have been here when the prosecutor dismissed City of Woodhaven posted signs.
What?
You didn't show up then.
Hold on, sir, I don't even know what one that is you're talking about.
Well, there was the one that we was going through and postpone. The City of Woodhaven
Is that the
wrote
federal one?
violation. No, they wrote violations on me for posted signs in this case. In other cases. Because I was protesting in the city of Woodhaven.
Okay.
But on that, the day that you were supposed to be here to have that case dismissed, another judge took your place. You think I'm sleepy or stupid, I'm not. But I'm 15.
Stop there right now, sir. Stop there right now.
You-
I don't think you're sleepy and I don't think you're stupid.
You-
When was that case? The one that you're talking about that I had another judge sitting for me, when was that case?
That was, I don't know the exact date of it, but I know the case was dismissed by a prosecutor.
Was that about a year ago, sir?
It was last year.
Last year?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the time that I had somebody sitting here in my place was because I had to go to Illinois on an emergency basis because my father had a stroke.
Oh, my fault.
So instead of having everything dismissed, I made sure I had another judge here to cover. So do not accuse me of thinking that you're sleepy or stupid. I made sure that there was a judge here to cover it anyway. So whether I was here or not is irrelevant.
The case got dismissed from the city of Woodhaven. But anyway, I'm 15. The defendant under Michigan Court Rule 2.003 requests a hearing by a district court chief judge in case if judge refuses to dismiss herself from this case. I know I have a constitutional right. If you don't dismiss yourself, I have the right for another judge to look at it. This way, it's impartial. It's where another judge can look at it and not just yourself. And apparently, you want to hold this case for a reason. And I believe that you in the city of Woodhaven, the state of Michigan, is in conspiracy. You know what I mean? You guys can say I'm crazy or not, but that's what I'm seeing. Because if you're fighting so hard to keep this case in your court, there's something wrong. Something got to be wrong. You already violated my constitutional right to public protest at the city of Woodhaven because of allegations that I committed assault against the police officer. You guys don't even know me.
Sir, okay, stop right there, please, just one moment. So, I'm not fighting to hold on to this case. I was assigned this case by the State Court Administrative Office. Now, I'm also elected to preside over cases. So, unless there's a valid reason for this court to disqualify itself, I'm obligated, whether I want to or not, to sit and preside over the matter. I am the chief judge of this court, and so I don't find that there's a basis at this point for me to disqualify myself. However, you certainly have the right to request the State Court Administrative Office can review that. That is absolutely your right. That's how that gets reviewed.
Well, yeah, I want another judge to look at this, because if you don't want to dismiss yourself from this case, we got a problem right there. Because
There's no problem, sir. I have a responsibility.
The city would have.
Sir, I have a responsibility. The matter is transferred over to the 27th District Court because the 33rd District Court disqualified itself. Perhaps they sent it here because the other matters that you've had here I don't know. I can ask for the case to be sent here. It's random. I have zero, just as though when I disqualify myself from a case, it gets sent somewhere else. I have no control over where it gets sent. I have no control over what gets sent to me, whether it's from 25th District Court, 28th District Court, 24th District Court, 34th District Court, or the like, sir.
Well,
So,
I have
just so you're aware.
Well, I have a history of this 27th District Court in cahoots with the city of Woodhaven. I think the judge, Ken Bash or something like that, he might be up there somewhere. He's retired now. You guys did me the same thing, same way you did.
You guys, I wasn't here.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
And this is where things start getting intense. Peterson begins leaning heavily on constitutional arguments, even claiming he's written his own version of one. Now listen, that might sound powerful on the surface, but in reality, it doesn't hold legal weight. You can't override established law with personal interpretations. The judge explains the limits clearly, grounding everything in actual legal authority. But Peterson doesn't back off. He brings up protests, past experiences, and what he believes are repeated violations of his rights. And instead of narrowing the focus, the argument expands into something broader and more emotional. This is the moment where the courtroom starts drifting away from structured debate and into something far more unpredictable and, honestly, harder to control.
You're not 100 years old.
It's not my system. It's the system of the country. It's the entire system. You keep accusing this court that I'm 100 years old and I've been oppressing things for 100 years, that it's my system.
Well, I'm saying
I didn't arrest you. That is not
It's your
my
system, and regardless, this is your system. It's not mine.
It is yours. It's
No,
not.
it's not. I'm Native Indian African. I'm not even a citizen.
No.
No, I'm a prisoner in my own country because of you white people. Y'all need to go back home.
All right, guys, now we're entering dangerous territory. Peterson starts demanding action, questioning why he wasn't arrested if he supposedly violated conditions, which is a strange argument to make in any courtroom. Most people fight to avoid arrest, not invite it. But here, it becomes part of his narrative. He insists he's the victim, that the system is targeting him, and that everything happening is unjust. Meanwhile, the judge continues trying to bring things back to process, pretrial, evidence, discovery. But Peterson isn't interested in slowing down. He pushes harder, requesting a new judge, claiming bias, even hinting at conspiracy. And once those accusations enter the room, the tone shifts completely. This is no longer just disagreement, it's escalation.
Okay, sir. Well, let me just say this. All right. You are accusing this court of being biased and prejudiced.
And racist.
And
Yep.
racist. However, your comments, sir, would seem to suggest otherwise.
Look, why do you raped us, you robbed us, and you murdered us legally?
Stop right there.
Everything that you people have
Stop
done
right
has been legal.
there. It's not you. I did not do that.
You're the system.
Do not put that on me. But here's what I'm going to do, sir. I'm going to grant your request. And this court's going to disqualify itself, and you can figure out which other court's going to handle this matter after the state court administrative sends wherever it's got to send, whatever it has to send.
Thank
So, because at this point, I am not going to stay here, take the abuse from you and your allegations, which are completely false and unbased. This court, myself, did not do anything that you're accusing me of doing, at all. I wasn't even around at that point. So we're going off the record. You can step outside in the lobby. Somebody will give you the next stuff you have to do.
And I'll give you a call, Mr. Kelly. Thank you very much for helping me.
That's all.
Yes.
There'll be another judge assigned.
So am I free to leave, or do I gotta get paperwork or something?
I believe that you're all set, sir.
Well, thank you. You have a good weekend and a good year. Thank you.
Good luck to you, sir.
I don't want to violate none of you guys.
This is where it really unravels. The judge explains her role, her obligations, and how cases are assigned, making it clear she's not holding on to anything out of bias. But Peterson keeps going, bringing up past cases, questioning integrity, and pushing the idea that the entire system is against him. And then it crosses a line. The argument shifts from legal claims into personal accusations and racial remarks. And once that happens, everything changes. Because at that point, it's no longer about law, it's about emotion. The courtroom loses its structure, and the discussion loses its focus. You can feel it slipping. This is the kind of moment where cases don't get stronger. They collapse under the weight of misplaced arguments and uncontrolled frustration.